You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Oh yeah, baby, that's lovely.
Good morning and welcome to Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News for September the 18th. I'm live here at paceradio.net and 420pace.ca. Today, it looks like it's going to be a nice day, and here's hoping yours will be as well. Before I get started, don't forget, if you like what you see or hear, don't forget to hit that subscribe button down there. Today, I've got news coming to us from Nigeria, the USA, Germany, the UK, as well as from here in Canada, which is where I will begin today's broadcast. Here we go. This comes to us from StratCan. Headline says, Calgary allows cannabis sales at all ages events. That's right. On September the 16th, the city of Calgary announced it will allow cannabis sales at all ages events, aligning with recently changed provincial rules. All sales and consumption under this new bylaw are required to take place in designated areas where minors are strictly prohibited. Alberta began allowing retailers to apply for such a license in July, allowing for cities like Calgary to also update their own bylaws. Melanie Bischoff, manager of the business experience at the city of Calgary, says Calgary is committed to clear regulations to promote public safety, aligning with provincial regulations, which help reduce confusion and gives businesses a more reliable framework to operate within. Now, cannabis retailers need to apply to AGLC for temporary license extensions. A cannabis store operating in Calgary does not require a separate municipal license to operate a mobile business unit at a minors prohibited entertainment event in the city. The most recent move by the city comes after the Calgary City Council voted to allow permanent process and festival applications to allow for the sale of cannabis at minors prohibited events. This was earlier this year. Now, Alberta has been rapidly updating its rules for cannabis consumption at sales at events. The province first allowed the sales at adult-only events back in 2024. So that is good news. I hope that will spread around the country so that other provinces will do likewise. I seen something recently. There's possibility there's some noise about maybe here in Ontario. If that's going to happen, that would be great to get even lounges open. Get back to the old days before legalization. Alrighty, on to my next story of the day, and this one comes to me from the Cannabis Health News. Headline there says, NHS access to medical cannabis could unlock 13.3 billion euros for the UK economy. Now, widening NHS access to medical cannabis could add 4.5 euros to the economy over 5 years and 13.3 billion over a decade, according to an economic analysis by the Center for Economics and Business Research. Now, the research commissioned by Curaleaf Clinic also suggests NHS access could help thousands of people with long-term health conditions to return to work, while reducing hospital admissions for those eligible by 28%. Since its legalization in 2018, private prescriptions for cannabis-based medicines have already generated around 283 million euros in gross value added by helping people get well and back to work. Those behind the research say the findings reveal a missed opportunity to improve lives, relieve pressure on the NHS, and support the government's 5-year plan to get more people working. Now, our analysis, they say, shows that appropriately prescribed medical cannabis can help people with chronic conditions return to work. And expanding the NHS access could or would benefit patients while delivering significantly productively gains and cost savings to the UK economy. Now, nearly 2/3 of the US or the UK adults believe people with chronic ill health should have more treatment options to get back to work, while 71% of those directly affected say medical cannabis should be made more widely available if it can help. But 40% of those who have struggled with employment due to diagnosed long-term health conditions are still unaware that medical cannabis is legally available treatment in the UK. That's disappointing. And 33% describe the current system as confusing and inaccessible and or unclear, which is never a good thing. They have to obviously get some more information out there through promotions or information to the doctors so that they can pass that on to the patients, so that patients realize that they have an option. You know, they don't have to just go with what the doctor, recommends right off the bat. They can ask about cannabis. I knew that I did that right here in Canada over 20 years ago. I talked to my doctors several times in order before I got my license to be able to use medical cannabis. So keep asking your doctors if you haven't started. If you have started, and if you haven't, start it, because they don't know if you don't speak up. So people need to speak up. All righty, here we go on to my next story of the day. This one here, it comes to me from the International Cannabis Business Conference. Headline there, it says, harmful German medical cannabis amendment withdrawn from agenda. That sounds good. That's been withdrawn. Now, a recently published draft amendment from the Germany's Federal Ministry of Health that would dramatically overhaul the nation's medical cannabis program was originally scheduled to be part of the federal cabinet meeting earlier this month, but was reportedly withdrawn. That has, in turn, created speculation as to why it was withdrawn from the meeting's agenda. Now, with the entry into the force of the Medical Cannabis Act at the beginning of April 2024, the legislature has reorganized the previous legal situation. Medical cannabis has been enshrined in a separate set of rules beyond the Narcotics Act, thus placing its medical use on a par with other prescriptions drugs, apparently according to a local news coverage. Now, however, the Federal Ministry of Health already intends to amend the MedCan-G, which is their program, and has submitted a preliminary draft bill for this purpose. Until a few days ago, this bill was also on the draft agenda for the federal cabinet meeting on September the 10th, but was withdrawn. Whether it will be revised again remains unclear. The outlet also reported that on that. Now, the draft amendment has received considerable pushback from Germany's medical cannabis community as drafted. The measure would require mandatory in-person doctor consultations, ban mail-order medical cannabis dispensing. Odd how that was the only way patients could get it here in Canada legally when the program first started. And actually, as far as medical, the licenses, we still have to order it through them. But many people go to the stores or grow it themselves. Now, they also recommend that implementing stricter rules for medical cannabis prescriptions. Now, the quote here is saying, the SPD emphasized that barrier-free local care for patients must be guaranteed, stated the German Cannabis Business Association in its recent newsletter. Now, online prescriptions should not be permitted without restrictions, but at the same time, a balanced regulation is necessary. Whether and in what form the Federal Ministry of Health will refine the draft remains open. Negotiations on changes to the Medical Cannabis Act are continuing within the coalition, reports the reporter Hasa Sulak. He's with the LTO. Now, whether the draft amendment will be revised remains uncertain, and speculation as to where things go next is still unclear, leaving patients hanging. But one thing is for sure, medical cannabis advocates in Germany will continue to fight for sensible laws and regulations, and the well-being of suffering patients is counting on it. It sure is. Sure is. There's no doubt about that. Because I know just from the reports that we've been doing over the years, the NHS, patients have had problems accessing medical cannabis, especially the young ones, the children, the parents that are looking for relief from seizures for their children. It just seems to be a non-stop fight for them, and it's just not right. All righty, folks, time for me to take a quick break. I'll be about 3 minutes, if that. And other than that, you're going to hear from people who make our voices louder so that you can hear the news, plus much more.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit or ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, reach to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-520. Rerolled Saturdays. Check it out. Nothing but non-stop cannabis and psychedelic programming. Find it at 420pace.ca.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization, from lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more. We've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Cannabis grow license. Limestone City Hydroponics can help patients through the process of obtaining their license to grow medical cannabis. What's that? You don't have a doctor. If you meet the medical criteria, Limestone City Hydroponics has a nurse practitioner who can assess and provide medical cannabis prescriptions. What are you waiting for? Contact Limestone City Hydroponics at Limestone or call them at 613-548-0420.
Pace Radio is the People Advocating Cannabis Education Radio Network.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Hey, welcome back. That means it's time to bring more stories to you, to the listeners, to the viewers, in order you can get educated on what's going on out there and what governments are doing around the world when it comes to cannabis. And that's what we're going to start on next, as we got a story here from the Marijuana Moment. And the headline on there says, Trump's drug czar says marijuana is a bipartisan issue, but administration is still exploring all options on scheduling. President Donald Trump's nominee for the White House drug czar told senators on Wednesday that the administration is keeping all options on the table as it continues to consider a pending cannabis rescheduling proposal while describing cannabis reform as a bipartisan issue. Now, during a confirmation hearing before the Senate Judiciary Committee, Sarah Carter, who also uses the name Sarah Bailey, I don't know why she used two names, was pressed on the cannabis rescheduling by Senator Cory Booker, who asked how she would advise the president as he considers moving cannabis from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 of the Controlled Substances Act. Booker noted that Carter discussed her support for medical cannabis access in 2023. Now, Carter, who was nominated by Trump to serve as the director of the White House Office of National Drug Control Policy, said she shares Booker's passion for the issue, which she characterized as bipartisan, and if confirmed as director, she says that she will comply with all federal laws and fulfill all statutory responsibilities of the ONDCP. However, she says that we will continue to work extensively with research and data. We will continue to do that and explore all options. Now, Wednesday's hearing, Carter also noted that she's already met with the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs Secretary Doug Collins, and the administration is aligned on the need for continued research and data that we will be delivering, and based on that research and data, we will continue to access. Now, she goes on to say, I think that that is vitally important. Now, the nominee has previously called medical cannabis a fantastic treatment option for seriously ill patients, and said she doesn't have a problem with legalization, even if she might not personally agree with the policy. Well, I hope that she continues on that path, because more positive voice in the White House would most certainly be helpful when it comes to cannabis legalization. There's no doubt about that. So, alrighty, I'll get the next story all lined up here, and I just gotta find it now. There it is. I got it. There you go. Hey, headline on this story says that Nigeria's National Assembly is working on medical cannabis legislation. This comes to me from the International Cannabis Business Conference. It says that the Assembly, that the African continent has experienced a significant uptick in cannabis policy modernization efforts in recent years, with the most noteworthy example being South Africa, where lawmakers adopted the continent's first national adult use cannabis legalization measure last year. Now, recreational cannabis legalization efforts are far less common on the continent compared to medical cannabis and industrial hemp, with several countries in Africa currently having active efforts for medical and hemp reform, including Nigeria, where the nation's National Assembly is reportedly working on a medical legalization measure. Now, Algeria is Africa's most populous country, with an estimated population of nearly 235 million people. The nation's capital or total GDP is estimated to be worth $188.27 billion US dollars, making it one of the largest economies on the continent. However, that is not to say that it doesn't have its issues. Now, legalizing and regulating medical cannabis production and commerce would help Nigeria boost its economic opportunities, and to former Senator Ethan Achano points out, a legal industry would help create jobs, just as it has helped generate revenues and stimulate local economies in other countries that have regulated cannabis industry. That can be done the same in Nigeria. And a lot of countries, that seems to be the number one thing, is the money end of it all. They know that they can make some money off of it, and that leads to legalization. It'd be nice if somebody just said, hey, let's legalize cannabis because it's the right thing to do, not because it's the financial thing to do. So, all righty. On to my next and final story of the day as I get her all lined up here for everybody. And this story is coming to me from Canada as well, just so you know. And here we go. Headline on this one from Global News says that psychedelics can help heal concussions and traumatic brain injuries, according to the University of Victoria research. The story says that researchers at the University of Victoria have found that psychedelics can help heal concussions and traumatic brain injuries. The Christie Lab at the University of Victoria found that the promise of two psychedelic compounds, that psilocybin and 5-MeO-DMT, I'll get that out, can help heal those injuries by enhancing neuroplasticity and reducing inflammation in the brain. Now, according to the researchers, concussion and other traumatic brain injuries impact an estimated 69 million people every year as a result of sports collisions, falls, road accidents, and interpersonal violence. There are few treatments and no approved and effective pharmacopoeia therapies. When someone receives a blow to the head, this sets off a cascade of events in the brain, according to Josh Allen. Now, he's one of the authors and of the review, and University of Vic postdoctoral fellow in neuroscience. He said that in a statement. Now, however, when this inflammation is prolonged, it can lead to long-term problems such as learning and memory deficits, depression and anxiety disorders, and post-traumatic stress disorder. And he went on to explain that these conditions share features such as impaired neuroplasticity that keep patients trapped in rigid loops of thought and behavior. Now, according to the research team, that over the past decade, clinical research has shown the safety and effectiveness of psilocybin and the promise of 5-MeO-DMT for treating depression, anxiety, end-of-life distress, substance use disorders, and obsessive compulsive disorder. There you go. All kinds of things that psilocybin and 5-MeO-DMT can help patients with. And, hey, they're finding the benefit. And if it can help, then why not? Let's move on and get rid of the stigma from the old days and allow patients access to medicine that helps them. People are saying the world's gone to shit. Well, we got some things that can help out with that and make things better for everybody. So, all right. Other than that, everybody, I am done. I've finished all the stories, and that's it for today. So, other than that, thanks go out to you for tuning into the broadcast and to our sponsors, Limestone City Hydroponics.ca, the Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, as well as At-Eze.ca. We'll see you next Monday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. And don't forget, as I always say, to educate, medicate, and do not incarcerate.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own, and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420. We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.